Let's talk about all the games happened on the 9th. Let's just jump right into it. The first game is the San Antonio Spurs lost to the Brooklyn Nets in overtime. Brooklyn Nets, they have not been good at home. Um, Maybe I don't know what's going on with them, to be honest. Harden has not been playing well at all. Well, after getting back from COVID, he had a nice 3 game streak, and then has not been great since this game. He was good, but for the Spurs, you know, Derek White. I mean, they got hit with COVID. Lonnie Walker in the short term could be a streamer until Derek White comes back. He's gonna have 30 minutes, but he usually doesn't do much other than the scoring. Sometimes he'll surprise you with 25 points games like this, but he doesn't usually provide anything else. He took 20 field goals, so if you need points and threes, he's a guy you could look to stream next week. Devontae Murray didn't shoot the ball well, but he's being a beast in category leagues, and he's doing it without good efficiency. His efficiency is not great, and he's still the 16th ranked player. So just really, really good all season. Jacob Porter also against the Nets. You're gonna get some defensive stats. Harden is gonna give you 6 turnovers, 3 steals and 2 blocks, 12 rebounds. Really, really good Pirtle. Especially if you're pounding, like if you draft Pirtle in category leagues, you gotta pound points and threes and free throws. So you gotta try to have a big man team with guys like that. Otherwise, he's hurting you in the other categories, like absolutely 0 threes. He doesn't really score a lot, and he's a really, really bad free throw shooter. Joshua Primo also came in and played 39 minutes. Him and Keita Bates, these two guys, they have the high minutes, but they don't usually produce like Lonnie Walker. You're usually gonna get some points and threes out of him, and the other two guys, you don't know. It's kind of inconsistent. For the Brooklyn Nets, KD and Harden high minutes again. They got a back-to-back tonight again. In tonight's game, they're gonna have Kyrie Irving. So we'll see how those 3 guys, like when 3 guys play together, it's kind of awkward. Like, hey, it's your turn now. It's my turn now. They just doing ISO plays a lot of the times instead of just move the ball around. Just play like a bad basketball team. It's like, oh shoot, I've been taking 3 shots in a row. Now it's your turn, even though you have it going. So they need to play together a little bit more. So this game, both KD and Harden played really, really well. Just worry about their minutes. Just being so high. Nicholas Claxton, he's a must roster, but also try to sell him. 33 minutes, and in the last 2 weeks, he's been good, really good. Claxton, 61st ranked player. Also, at the same time, he's also a sell high because Lamarcus Eldridge is out this game. He's going to be back and take some of the minutes away. In the last 2 weeks, like he played some huge minutes with some of the guys out, 28 minutes, averaging 1.1 steals and 1.3 blocks. I mean, he could even get more blocks, to be honest. But yeah, I'll look to do a 2-for-1, try to see if he can get any top 60, 70 talent. I don't think the minutes going to be that high every, I don't think he played 20 minutes every night. So if he's out there on the waiver wire, grab him. And if you got him already, try to see if you can sell him. Cam Thomas also played huge minutes, 30 minutes, and he actually hit the game winner. So good, really, really good. But he's not fantasy relevant. Patty Mills still hold until Joe Harris comes back. Had 2 blocks here somehow. Probably just strips. And let's go to the next game. The Atlanta Hawks lost to the LA Clippers. Trae Young, lately he just had 100% usage. This game just 19 points and 7 threes, 7 assists with 21 shots. That's not great, but provided defensive stats. With Trae Young, you know what you're gonna get from him in fantasy. It's been a couple years now, right? But the defensive stats has always been an issue: high turnovers and low field goal. But the counting stat category is very, very solid with him. But the overall ranking is not. Bogdanovic, great game, great minutes, 31 minutes, 19 points, two steals. Like, if he's out on the waiver wire, he needs to be picked up. But also at the same time, try to sell him, because when all the guys come back, DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish also left the game. When those guys come back, the minutes are going to be inconsistent. So, grab him and try to sell him. Otherwise, just hold. And Okongwu, without Clint Capella, he played 38 minutes, 9 points, 10 rebounds. He could be a nice streamer with Capella out. John Collins, not the best game, just 9 points and 7 rebounds. Getting back from COVID. John Collins is the type of guy that in category leagues, can't speak about points leagues, but in category leagues, if you guys get a guy like that, really the most useful thing he provides is, two things: rebound and efficiency. Although his free throw didn't, his free throw is alright this game, and he's not even ranked in the last 2 weeks because he didn't play enough games. He's actually the 32nd ranked player, just like OG. These guys' rankings are just super high. A lot of the, due to their efficiency. If you look at like 17.5 points and 8 rebounds, it's nice, but they're not like top tier. Like he's not top 20 in rebound, or he's like top even 40 in scoring. What he does is like 54% field goal. That's huge on 12 attempts. But the counting said only averaging 1.1 turnovers. So a lot of value coming from his efficiency. If you're punting any of the efficiency categories, you don't wanna. John Collins might just be like a top 60 player for you, right? So let me punt the turnovers. So if you got a Harden on your team with Collins, that pairing doesn't make much sense, because all the value. Well, he's still the 45th ranked player if you're punting turnovers. So still great, top 50 player. But I would look to, try to see if I can just punt. If I got a Harden, I got a couple other guys. These guys' value fall off a little bit, maybe 10, 20 spots. And obviously with his great field goals and. But again, like I'm using Basketball Monsters rankings, and those rankings, they do consider the volume of field goals you take, but they don't consider like individual teams. Like if you got a Jason Tatum and you got a Donovan Mitchell, and your team is just gonna attempt more field goals than average. So when that happens, John Collins' field goal is not gonna help your team as much, because collectively every week your team takes maybe 50% more field goals than the average team. So those are the things. So efficiency is very tricky. So I personally sometimes I just want to ignore them. The field goal part. Free throw is a little bit different story, because free throws, the volume is, all the shitty players, they don't, not shitty players, the low usage players, they don't go to the free throw line that much. So unless they're like a 60% free throw shooter, at the end of the day, it's all right. They're not gonna hurt you that much. All right, But yeah, like if you got John Collins on your team, you really should try to win all 3 efficiencies every week. Otherwise, I'd rather much have somebody else. Kevin Huerter still in the block, 11 points, and not the best game, but he could be rostered. The minutes is pretty high in the short term, and now Cam Reddish is out. And all the bench guys, we could move on from them. All the guys who came back: Delon Wright, Cam Reddish, Gallinari. Delon Wright is a beast when he gets minutes. Remember that. LA Clippers, this game, Clippers, they got so many guys, and you just don't know how many minutes each guy is going to play. For some reason, Reggie Jackson only played 21 minutes. And, you would think with Paul George out, some of those guys are going to have a higher usage. Marcus Morris did, This game was also out of, in the fourth quarter, it wasn't close. So, some of the starters didn't play high minutes. But I'm just looking at the entire roster. Nobody is really like a top 50 player, to be honest. Top 50, even when playing 30 minutes. Like, you could give Batum 30 minutes, he'll be close to 50. He's probably the best fantasy guys out there, because he can get plenty of defensive stats and some assists and hit some threes. Overall, fairly efficient. Marcus Morris could be maybe the second best, given the minutes and opportunity, points and threes. He's still a hold, but I would try to sell high on him, before Paul George comes back, whenever, maybe a couple of weeks from now. Zubac, sure, you could have him as well. You know what you're going to get out of him, rebounds and some efficiencies. Amir Coffey played well, but next game he could just go back, does nothing. Same thing with Terrence Mann. The minutes is there, but he doesn't get a lot of defensive stats, and it just like there's not one category like he's not the specialist in anything, and the volume stat he provides is not great either. Eric Bledsoe, a lot of guys you could stream, but this Clipper team, other than Paul George, nobody is really that good in fantasy. All right, let's go to the next team. The Wizards finally got a win. They pulled it out 102-100. After this game, the Wizards are 9th seed. They should be, competing for that play-ins behind Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal played 36 minutes. Still struggle with his shot, but overall, like 20 points, 7 assists, 6 a rebound, and a block is okay. Daniel Gafford is a huge sell high. Try to sell high if you can, because Thomas Bryant is going to be back. We have Montrezl Harrell has been out. With all the guys back, he probably just playing like 22-23 minutes, which is still a must roster because he's going to give you close to 2 blocks a game. But everything else is pretty non-existent. And field goal, really good field goal, obviously. Spencer Dinwiddie, 10 assists and a steal with 8 points. He's not a must roster, but if you're looking for the assist, he can give you that. So, if your team loving those assists, he could give you 5-6 assists a game, which is hard to find on the waiver wire. But everything else is, I don't know, no low rebound, low defensive stats, like a lot of negatives. So if he plays well, you should really try to sell him. Kyle Kuzma, another, what a game, 27 points, 22 rebounds, really, really good. In the last 2 weeks, Kuzma, I don't know what happened. He's just been going off every single game. 47th ranked player, obviously like a sell high. Just gotta, the points and the rebounds he provides all season is like pretty solid. Like he's gonna give you 13, 14 points with 7, 8 rebounds. But the problem with him is just efficiency. Always have efficiency issues. So try to do a 2-for-1, get a top 50 player. Otherwise, maybe just hold. I don't know what's gotten into his head lately. He's been super aggressive and just scoring a bunch. KCP had 2 threes, 14 points. He could be a streamer only. And I guess the big news here is Rui Hachimura came back, mysteriously missing. I don't think they said why he was missing. He had an injury or something like that. But he's not a great fantasy player. And I don't know how they're going to find minutes for him, because Kyle Kuzma is going to get 30 minutes a night. So I don't know. And with all the guys back, Danny Advia could be a drop. And let's look at the Magic side. They got a couple of guys back. I guess they didn't have Wendell Carter Jr. They have, Cole Anthony's been back. Mel Bamba been back a couple of games. Cole Anthony, 4 for 17. He's been falling off. To me, he's still should be like the top 50, 60 type of player. He's struggling with his efficiencies lately. If you can, Cole Anthony will be a good buy low. Look at him as a top 50, 60 player in that range, because he can score points, he can grab rebound, he can get assist, and some defensive stats as well. But efficiency is one of his biggest issues. Garrett Harris, 31 minutes, 2 blocks. If you can sell Garrett Harris for anything, Jalen Suggs could be back in the next couple weeks. So I look to sell Garrett Harris, who's been great. This game didn't really do much, but had 2 blocks. In the last 2 weeks, he's been 81st ranked player. So he's been good. Try to sell him. Terrence Ross out of nowhere. I guess not out of nowhere. With him, you want to stream him because every once in a while he's gonna explode for games like this, 32 points against a bad defensive Wizards team with 2 threes. Try to sell him for any value. Otherwise, just write it out. He's been getting a lot of minutes, so just write it out. Mel Bamba has been a little bit underwhelming. He had 4 blocks last game, had 2 steals here. He's just a blocks guy, and a little bit of rebounds. As a center, he's not a great field goal anchor, anything like that, because he takes a lot of outside shots. And but because he gets 2 blocks, you never drop him. Just like Daniel Gafford, you don't drop guys like that in category leagues. If you're gonna drop them, you don't drop them. You try to sell them. to a team that love the rebound that the blocks are providing. Because 2 blocks a game, because majority of the players, right, like guards, they're gonna average 0.2, 0.3. So 1 center is equal to 10 guards. Just one game they play, they get 2 blocks. So just imagine that. Like there's no any other category like work like that. Like steals, sure. You have guys like, who's a really low steal, like Brandon Ingram, right? Just gets absolutely no steals, but nobody gets 10 more times steals. Like he's still gonna give you 0.5 just by standing on the court, 0.4, 0.5 a game. So blocks truly is that category where if you have a couple of guys, you're just gonna dominate the category. So you don't really drop guys like that. Chuma Okeke, 34 minutes. Wendell Carter Jr. was out, so like, you could stream him. He provided a lot of steals, but that's all he does really. Low efficiency, and nothing else. Franz Wagner, I think he's playing through an injury. He had like an ankle issue coming into like Saturday. He played both games. Just hold on to him. I wouldn't go buy low because to me he's like a top 90, 100 player. So when you go buy low, you're just really trading, your end of your bench guys. All right, let's go to the next game. The New Orleans Pelicans, 101, 105, lost to the Raptors. Herbert Jones is a must roster. High minutes again. Also a bit sell high. This week he has been crazy getting the steals. You try to in category leagues he's really good, but he's not a, you know how things are with defensive stats. So and also I think the minutes is a bit high lately. Like eventually I think who is out this game? Josh Hart. I mean a couple guys coming in and out of the lineup. He's a guy you must roster, but also try to sell high. Maybe do a 2-for-1 to see if you can get a top 50 player. Jones in the last 2 weeks, he is 19th ranked player for sure. To do a 2-for-1 to see you can get the guys like Cole Anthony, who's been struggling. Brandon Ingram, 22 points, 5 rebounds and 4 assists, and again no defensive stats, but 9 for 10 from the free throw line is good. And as long as he's playing, I guess it's okay. Valanciunas, another huge game, 20 points and 17 rebounds. He's just been so good. Even hit a 3 or still in the block. Top 30 player. And Garrett Temple came in and played. Josh Hart was out this game. If you want to stream Garrett Temple for a few games, if Josh Hart is out, sure. But only if they have a good schedule. Otherwise, I wouldn't touch him. And Devontae Graham, this guy is, like, with him, you have to pound a couple of categories. Other than assists, he provides nothing else. Rebounds, steals, blocks, they're all empty. Most nights, anyways. Like, most nights, he's going to give you 2 rebounds. He's not a big steals guy. You still want to hold. But if your team is 126 ranked player, providing just 4.5 assists. So even the assist category is not much. But the minutes is there. The points and the threes there. Still, like, he hits a lot of threes at the end of the day. So just to hold, but you got to pound field goals with this guy. Otherwise, try to sell him to a team. For the Raptors, OG had 5 fouls in 34 minutes. Yeah, again, like John Collins, a lot of his value coming from the efficiencies. And if you're not trying to win those efficiency categories, like if you're punting them, I think you could try to sell him to get like Anthony Edwards. Try to do those type of trades, and because those other guys provide way more counting stats and their rankings are kind of similar. Pascal Siakam, for example, like his counting stats are way more than OG's, but his ranking might be lower because of bad free throw and a lot of turnovers. But Siakam played 42 minutes here. Nick Nurse is really trying to run him to the ground. I don't know what's going on with why 42 minutes. It's not like they don't have the bodies. I guess a couple guys were out this game, Gary Trent Jr. But Siakam, top 50 player. If you can get a top 20, top 30, do a 2-for-1, try to do that. The past 2 weeks he has been insane. The counting stats, but obviously the efficiencies was a bit rough. But counting stats very, very solid. Ken Burch, 21 minutes. Ken Burns, Chris Boucher, and Precious Achua. Those three guys actually, like Chris Boucher and Precious Achua, got a few more minutes, maybe because Gary Trent was out. If Gary Trent continues to be out, we could stream Boucher. I don't think I want to stream Precious Achua unless I want rebounds. He doesn't really provide anything else. He doesn't provide a lot of defensive stats either with this guy. Chris Boucher, once again, finding his way to 25 minutes a night. Just finds a way every single year. So if you got him, could keep writing it out, and you could stream him for for the defensive stats. Scotty Bombs 33 minutes, 7 points and 4 rebounds. Pretty bad this game, but outlook to buy low. With all the guys back, his usage is gonna be. He still take 10 field goals, but it's gonna be a bit inconsistent. Fred VanVleet, he's been really good in the last 2 weeks. I'll try to sell high on him. I think I talked about it. He's the third ranked player, really the second, because Ricky Rubio would play just one game. Like, if you can get like a Kevin Durant, well, he's 7th ranked on the season, but like if you can get Harden, if you can get LaMelo, if you can get Karl Anthony Towns, Joel Embiid and Jimmy Butler, those guys are a bit injury prone. Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell, like I'll be happy taking any of those guys. Fred VanVleet, I don't know what's gotten into him in the last 2 weeks. He's just been crazy. Averaged like 30 points even. He had 31 points with 6 threes a game. Insane. So that's got to fall off 47%. So no, those are not sustainable. He's still a great player. Like in fantasy per game basis, he's top 20, right? If the defensive stats go up, could be top 15, but not like this. All right, let's go to the next game. The Timberwolves, they've been winning a bunch of games. Every time I look at their games, they've been winning. Yeah, they won 4 straight. 8th seed. Great. I mean, last time they were in the playoffs, it was with Jimmy Butler, I think. Cat, great game, 40 points against a bad Rockets team, so that's expected. I think you would expect a lot of guys go off when you play Rockets, especially led by Kevin Porter Jr., right? Throwing away the ball a lot. Karl Anthony Towns great. Anthony Edwards didn't shoot the ball well, but the defensive stats, Kevin Porter Jr. gonna give you some gifts. 6 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Good stuff. Jaden McDaniels also started this game because Patrick Beverley was out. This guy can block shots, man. 4 blocks here. He's a guy to stream. And wow, would you look at Vanderbilt? 31 minutes, 10 for 14, 21 points, 19 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Free throw is not so great this game, but just look at the counting stat. He's a guy that, provide a lot of defensive stats and rebounds, but doesn't shoot any threes. And not a great free throw shooter. And, he usually doesn't score all that much. So you could maybe try to use this opportunity to sell high on this guy. Otherwise, just hold. He's a must-roster guy in category leagues. D'Lo also played well. I mean, when you play the Rockets, everybody's going to have a good time. 22 points, 10 assists, a steal, and 5 rebounds. 5 threes, also great. And all the bench guys, we could move on from him. If you still somehow have Malik Beasley, you have to drop him. And let's look at the Rockets. Due to the blowout, again, nobody played high minutes again. Jalen Green, 26 minutes at 10 points and 1 3. You're only holding him for the upside. Hope for the other side later on this season. Like you're not having this guy thinking that he's gonna have giving you a good return now. You're just hoping for the upset. Kevin Porter Jr. only had 3 turnovers, so I guess I was wrong. He only had 3, so can't blame him for all the steals the other team got. But if you have Kevin Porter Jr., you gotta have a couple conditions. You gotta pound all 3 efficiency categories maybe, or just not worry about them. Especially like the free throw, like 60% free throw guy on 5 attempts really hurts your team. Like you could be a good free throw shooting team, but with him, like sometimes he'll just shoot 50% with 10 attempts. That just completely destroy your free throw for the week. Free throw, I feel like I haven't really talked about him, is also extremely high variance. Extremely high variance because, again, depend on your team, right? If you don't have a high free throw shooter volume guy, sometimes, if you have guys like, you don't have like a Joel Embiid or you don't have a Harden, your team's free throw maybe only 100 per week, and you have Kevin Porter Jr. then he's hurting your team's free throw twice as much versus a team that shoot 200 free throws a week, right? So, if you have Kevin Porter Jr., you got to think about your strategy in category leagues. Like the counting stats are pretty sexy a lot of the times. The rebound, the assist, the assist especially, the steals and the blocks. He's gonna score a little bit, but the efficiency is just so bad. Christian Wood, 22 points, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks, had an okay game. But again, free throw is an issue with a lot of the Rockets. Jason Tate misses 2 free throws, and only played 23 minutes. And they keep starting Eric Gordon. I don't know. Like they got a bunch of guys like Garrison Matthews is good in fantasy. He won't hurt you anywhere. Make a lot of threes. Kenyon Martin Jr. can get blocks, and Josh Christopher. Like once we get to the end of the season, right? Once Eric Gordon gets shut down or gets traded or whatever, monitor some of those guys. Like especially Kenyon Martin Jr. He could be he has like top 50 upside given 30 minutes. All right, let's go to the next game quickly. The next game is the Denver Nuggets. Beat the Oklahoma City Thunder 99-95. Jokic, efficiency was an issue with him this year. A lot of the games, 8 for 21, because he has to do so much. So that's understandable. 18 rebound is nice, 6 assists and a steal. Good game from him. And Will Barton also carried some of the offensive load, 14 points, 4 assists. And again, bad efficiency. Monty Morris, just boring numbers to be honest. 8 points, 5 assists and a steal. Like all the Denver guys, I guess other than Jokic and Will Barton, who has not been like he's a must roster, but he's not that exciting. Like he doesn't excite me at all. And he's just 90th ranked, and probably he could be like 80th. There was a period of time you could try to sell him. He was like inside top 50. But we know like with his issues with efficiency, ranking wise, he's not gonna be that great. And counting stat wise, lately. Also like 15 points. He's gonna give you 15 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, but everything else comes and goes. I do like Facu Campazzo. Although he scored 1 point here in category leagues, you could look for him for some assist, and he can get steals and blocks as well. Blocks is just stripping guys. So if the minutes could be a little bit higher, 25, 26 minutes, we could roster him. Kind of like TJ McConnell. Oklahoma City Thunder, another bad game from Shea, 2 for 14, but he did make it up in the other area, some of the other areas, 4 assists, still and 2 blocks. But I think you want to he's a top 50, 40 player in my opinion, but his efficiency is a big issue, big issue. So like if you can try to trade some of the guys who's been performing really well, can't think of any right now, but yeah, try to buy low on him. I think his efficiency might still be an issue, but the counting stats, the points, the free throw shooting, the defensive stats, he's a pretty tall guard, so he can get blocks as well. Josh Giddey, he's been really good lately, and due to his efficiency issues, his rankings in category leagues is not great. Giddey, wow, he's actually good in the last 2 weeks. 35th ranked player. I didn't realize that. 13 points, 2 threes, 10. Wow, average 10 rebounds last 2 weeks. 8.3 assists and 1.8 steals. This is his upside. This is why he's like Derek White type of player. He can also get you some blocks. But the efficiency has been an issue, and he turns the ball over way too much. 3.5 turnovers in the last 2 weeks. But he's a must roster guy because the counting stat he provides is super solid. Derek Favors started this game because the matchup versus Jokic. But in all the other games he doesn't start. Jeremy Robinson-Earl had a decent game, but he's not fantasy. He's fantasy wise, he's not good at all. Lou Dort, 14 points. If you want points and threes, you could have him. And some of the bench guys, Darius Bazley is a guy you could stream for defensive stats, especially the blocks. Now that he's coming off the bench, he's actually provide much better fantasy numbers than he was like starting and shooting 13 threes a game. 10 points with good efficiency and three blocks is not bad. It's not bad. All right, let's go to the next game. The Chicago Bulls losing to the Dallas Mavericks. Okay. DeMar DeRozan, 20 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, and a block. An average game, 2 for 4 from the free throw line is pretty bad. But he's been really good all season. Surprisingly. Derrick Jones Jr. started because who is out this game? I don't know who is out this game. But usually they have, that green guy has been starting. Now, is he out of the rotation or is he out? But Derrick Jones Jr., like the Bulls rotation, they're a bit inconsistent. You just don't know if he can get consistent 28, 29 minutes. And Caruso could be back very, very soon. So let's not stream him for anything. Vucevic, again, just every time I look at the stats, his shooting has been horrible. Lately, he's been great. This is obviously a bad game. Hopefully, he can turn it around soon. I just don't know what happened with him this year with his shooting numbers. He must be taking a lot of wide open shots. I mean, he took 5 threes. I mean, all the 3 he takes is definitely wide open or somewhat open. He's just not hitting them. Zach LaVine, good to see him getting 2 steals. Other than the defensive stats and also the low assists, I'm pretty happy with Zach LaVine. Like, I would be happy with Zach LaVine. But it's a big issue when your second round pick doesn't give you any assist. Well, he gave me like 4 assists. But that's kind of low. Like all the guys inside of that top 20, like even Karl-Anthony Towns give you 4 and he's a center. Right? So that becomes an issue. Lonzo Ball has been great. If you look at it, like you may not, if that doesn't excite you, like 3 threes, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. Lonzo Ball has been super, super good in category leagues, especially. In points leagues, maybe he's not that good, but very, very solid in category leagues. Continue doing it. And Kobe White, we can move on from him. Guys are coming back. If 1 or 2 guys get injured, we could look at Kobe White for some points and threes. But his run is almost over. The Mavericks, they got Doncic, just destroyed the Bulls. A big triple-double, but 8 for 23. Doncic has been a huge disappointing fantasy all season. Nowhere near what he was last year in terms of counting stats, and he didn't really improve in those efficiencies or defensive stats. Continues to disappoint, I suppose. So this is why we don't take him inside that top 10. I personally would not. Jalen Brunson with Doncic back, his assist is gonna dip by a lot. Still want to hold on to him. Dwight Powell, not really. Maxi Kleber, as long as Porzingis is out, you gotta have this guy. But the production is gonna be inconsistent. And Dorian Finney-Smith hit 4 threes and a block. His production has fallen off quite a bit. There was a period of time he was putting up pretty good numbers, especially the defensive stats. Lately, hasn't been the case, but you could still have him, just like your worst player or end of your bench. All right, let's move on to the next game. Oh, this game. The Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors. This is the first game back for Clay more than 2 years. Almost 3 years, actually. And they got the win, so that's great. Let's talk about Cavaliers first. Darius Garland, pretty horrible. I mean, the Warriors' defense is great. So he'll bounce back from this. Lamar Stevens, in the short term, you could stream him with Okoro out, but I don't know what stat this guy gives you. I don't really know. Jerry Allen played 30 minutes against a good Warriors team. The number is gonna be bad for the other team, and they only scored 83 points as a team. Evan Mobley had 5 turnovers. The defensive stats are still there, but collectively nobody played well. And surprisingly, Rondo got 28 minutes. So that's going to happen with Rondo. Like some nights he'll play 20, some nights he'll play 28. Who knows, even 30. Some nights he'll play 15. So he's like Kevin Love, who only played 14 minutes this game. Well, against the Warriors, they're going to cook you real hard in put you in pick and roll situations. Maybe that's why he played low minutes. But like for guys like Kevin Love and Rondo, Kevin Love is still like must roster, but their minutes going to be up and down, depending on the matchup, depending on how well they play that day. For the Warriors, Klay Thompson, if he's out on the waiver wire, you got to grab him. You have to grab him. But I don't think he's a top 50 player. He played 20 minutes, and the Warriors are clearly trying to feed him shots. Took 18 shots in 19 minutes, 17 points. But we know who Klay is in fantasy. He hits threes, which would be good 5 years ago in 2016. But in 2022, everybody hits threes. So his value really goes down by a lot. He's still going to give you decent points and threes, but everything else is really not there. And consider the injury he had, right? He won't be hustling as much. So the defensive stats will also go down. So really not, he's kind of like a Buddy Hield type of player, I think, in fantasy. Buddy Hield is like king. But yeah. Kevon Looney, what happened this game, had 18 rebounds, 4 steals, and a block. He's not going to do this every game. And Draymond Green, yeah, something weird is going on with him. Well, not something weird is going on. Something really, like he wanted to come into the game because his first game Klay is back. So he just went off the court. He started the game and committed a foul and then just left. Some really bizarre stuff. Really, really crazy. I don't think I remember I ever seen this type of things happen. I don't remember. Andrew Wiggins played 34 minutes. And with Klay back, he's going to take kind of a usage hit. But he should be better than this most nights. Jordan Poole played 24 minutes, had 14 points and a block. I mean, I'm just going to hold on to Jordan Poole for a few more games. Just want to see, because there are a lot. It's kind of chaotic. This game, Draymond Green didn't play. You have Otto Porter Jr., Gary Payton, Bielitsa. I mean, they play like, how many guys did they play? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They play. Steve Kerr played 11 guys. If he shortened the rotation to 8 or 9, 11 is way too much. I don't know. I still believe Jordan Poole is gonna have like a 28, 29 minute role, which makes him, that top 80, 90 type of value. So I'm still gonna hold on to him for a few more games. But if you want to drop him, if there's a hot waiver wire agent out there, sure. But I personally would just hold for a game or two just to see what the minutes look like. As Steve Kerr is trying to figure it out. All right, the next game is the Kings losing to the Portland Trail. That's embarrassing, losing to the Portland team. But what else is new? And then the reports coming out saying Tyrese Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox, they could be traded, or they could one of them should get traded, or both of them could be traded. I don't really know what's going on. I think if I were the Kings, I would trade De'Aaron Fox personally, because Tyrese Halliburton is better. Both played 35 minutes, so both had an okay game. Well, pretty bad game for De'Aaron Fox. Just 2 assists and 14 points. 1 for 4 on the free throw line. He's being a huge disappointment. At this point, I don't even know he will be a top 50 player. Like, if you go to basketballmonster.com and you pound all 3 efficiencies, he's like a top 70 player. So when you pounding all 3 efficiencies, he's not great either. So there's really no excuse. The assist number is down, the scoring is down. What are you gonna do? Just hold. You try to sell him now, that'll be kind of crazy. And I don't think I'll go buy low on him. As long as Tyrese Halliburton is there, I don't know. Tyrese Halliburton, on the other hand, had 9 assists, so that's great. Pretty good game, 2 steals and a block. 17 points. Alex Len started, but the Kings rotation, man. The center, like, you have Chemezi Mantu, Alex Len, Rashawn Holmes is out, but the power forward position, everybody come in and get 20 minutes. So nobody is really fantasy relevant. Same thing with the other guards. Terrence Davis came back, played 13 minutes, and Buddy Hield still played 29. So Buddy Hield looks like still a hold. He's gonna average 20 and 29 minutes. That makes him a hold because he just makes so many threes. But everybody else is. Harrison Barnes also had one of his better games. 7 rebounds, 13 points, and still in the block. But he's still a hold, but the early season production is falling way off. Way off. For the Portland Trail Blazers, yes, another big news over the weekend. Well, it came out yesterday that Damian Lillard is going to miss the next 8 games. It's almost over, guys. Like, most likely he's going to be shut down. He's going to see this is almost like the exact same situation with Kyrie Irving. Different injuries, but they were both ejecting the cortisone shots or whatever that is that helps, inflammation on your body parts. to alleviate the pain, right? It's almost the exact same situation. Kyrie saw a specialist. Their suggestion is to eject the shots, play through get rid of the pain so you could keep playing. But you have to keep taking them. And it's not necessarily bad to keep taking them. It does have some side effects. But consider Portland Trailblazers have nothing to play for, and he's not getting traded. Then why keep taking them, right? So I don't know. He's gonna see a specialist. Most likely, the always quote unquote safe approach is to just shut down, right? And the fact that they have nothing to play for because they're so bad. Like if they're good or he gets traded, then you could argue maybe, hey, he's a reason to keep going. But yeah, I would say 90-95% he won't play another game this season at this point, which really sucks. If you drafted him, your first round player goes down. But that's fantasy. What you're gonna do? But Anthony Simons is a must roster. Also a bit sell high because CJ is out and everybody's out. So he played well to get 31 points. But when CJ comes back, he's gonna be that 60. And this game also we have Norman Powell out. Norman Powell got placed into a safety protocol. So in the short term, Anthony Simons is gonna be huge. I would try to sell him, to maybe do a 2-for-1 to get like a top 40, 50 player. Otherwise, I would just hold. But McLemore also could be a stream for threes with all the guys out with Norman Powell until CJ and Norman Powell come back. Yusuf Nurkic, here we go. Sometimes when your guards are out, you just have to play your other players more minutes. It's not necessarily like, you're going to have guards come in and take all the minutes. As we see here, Nurkic, prior to all the injuries, he was getting 26 minutes. This game, he got 38. So sometimes you have to play your best players more minutes, if your other players go down. Really good stuff. This is why we love Nurkic. 9 assists, 2 steals in a block. And maybe that's what's going to unlock him for the rest of the season, top 40. The guy has top 20 upside. But he hasn't been that case in 2 years. Robert Covington also had 3 steals and 3 blocks. Larry Nance Jr. is out, so he's a must roster. I'll try to sell him high if you can, because we don't know what the minute's going to look like. With Damian out, maybe they just go bigger. Nasa Little also, you could stream him for some defensive stats, although he's not very consistent at getting them. But the minutes is there, you could stream him. All right, let's go to the last game of the night. The Grizzlies, they're too good. They are simply too good. The 4th seed, and they won 9 straight again. My God, my goodness. This game, they had a 5-game week, and they have guys coming in and out of the lineup. It doesn't matter. They just keep winning games. It doesn't matter. And Jaren Jackson Jr. is too good. He blocked 5 shots yesterday versus the Clippers, and he blocked 6 shots again. Obviously a sell high. But what are you gonna get from him in the last 2 weeks? Let's see where he's at. Like if you cannot get a top 25 player, I personally would just hold. He is 44th ranked player in the last 2 weeks because he's shooting 36%. He's getting a lot of defensive stats, 1.5 steals and 2.8 blocks. My God. If you can get a top 30 player, you would do it. But if not, I would just write it out. He's a top 50 player with top 30, top 20 upside. But yeah, like the number of blocks he's been getting this week has been crazy. Probably helped you win blocks. Him alone probably helped you win blocks. Really good stuff. And grabbed 12 rebounds this game as well. He's been really, really good this week. Desmond Bane, same thing. Somehow, some way, just finds a way to produce. The news came out that Dillon Brooks is going to be out 3 to 5 weeks minimal, even more. Who knows? Maybe after All-Star break. And after big, bad injuries, you're gonna lose some explosiveness. And so even when Dillon Brooks come back, maybe he's gonna have a drop in his production as well. So I think Dillon Brooks should be good to go until the fantasy playoffs. So just write it out. He's been putting up top 50 values. It could be with Dillon Brooks out top 50, 60. And again, like you could try to sell him, do a 2-for-1 to get a top 30 player. Otherwise, just hold. Another great game. I mean, whenever he plays, that's why I think even with Dylan Brooks in, he can put up numbers because he's been getting a lot of defensive stats and his efficiency has been good as well. Hit a lot of threes, scoring points. It's just without Dylan Brooks, for sure, he's going to be a top 50 player. He's been doing it for half of the season, really, really good. And Grizzlies collectively as a whole, just been really, really good. Ja Morant only took 10 shots. Bad from the free throw line, but 7 assists, a steal and block is okay. A subpar game from Ja Morant, but if you guys need to check out the highlight block he had, that was wild. And D'Anthony Melton is a guy we want to pick up with Dylan Brooks out, but he continues to not getting enough minutes, right? Coach ideally, he's kind of like a hustle guy, coming play 20, 25 minutes. So the minutes won't be that high, but he still needs to be rostered. Kyle Anderson also needs to be rostered. 29 minutes, came back, played really well. He might throw your free throw every once in a while, but the other stats are pretty solid. He won't do this because it was against the Lakers and LeBron, Russell Westbrook. They do throw the ball away a lot and gets blocked a decent amount of time. But yeah, playing the Lakers it's great for the other team. No defense, and they give out a lot of defensive stats. For the Lakers, Malik Monk had a bad game, but had 3 blocks. He's still a hold, but the production may not stick, and the minutes may not stick. You know, with Lakers, right? Trevor Ariza, Austin Reeves. I mean, all those wing guys, you just don't know how many minutes you're gonna get. Stanley Johnson, yeah, that's not talking about. LeBron James, another great game, but they lost. And LeBron, even though he put up great numbers, he was a minus 30. He was a minus 30, and they only lost by 8, so that's pretty bad this game. It's pretty bad for LeBron, but it's just one game. You know, the plus minus may not tell the whole story. 35, I mean, he's doing it at the age of 37. Crazy. I don't know what else to say. Like, I would still get Jokic or Curry if I can, but who knows? He could be a top 3 player rest of the way. I still have my doubts, but it's been half of the season. It's kind of maybe it falls off by the end of the season, but he's been healthy for the most part and just killing it. Russell Westbrook, not the best game. Just move on to next, to be honest with Russ. And all the other Laker guys played pretty badly. And that's it for all the games. I will see you guys tomorrow.